I am 30 years old and I just surrendered my house to the bank. And I truly feel like it was one of the most freeing decisions that I've ever made, although very scary. So let's talk about it. So if you're new here, I've been experiencing a lot of financial constraint over the last 10 months as I've surrendered into my soul purpose, allowing my soul purpose path to unfold and going through a dark night of the soul that just came with a complete deconstruction of my financial systems and structures. And that involved me facing the fact that I was carrying a lot of credit card debt. I've carried credit card debt almost all of my 20s. And in September of last year, I made the decision to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy because I had about $42,000 in credit card debt with no income. So when I decided to file, I planned on retaining my house and my car because I had loans on both of them. But I never ended up signing a reaffirmation agreement on either. I don't know if that's very common or normal, but I never even received a reaffirmation agreement to sign on either of them. I plan to maintain my mortgage, but the final quarter of 2024, things really shifted in my reality and my journey. And in December, I ended up moving across country to pursue a business venture that did not pan out, but everything was leading me to here and now, which I trust in. And at the time I had my mother was living in my home for most of last year and she was renting from me, and that was helping me meet my mortgage payment. But she ended up finding another living situation that just worked better for her. So she ended up moving out. And initially I thought about renting it out to a tenant, but when I decided to embark on the cross-country road trip, it just became very clear that it was time for me just to release the house with the way that my mortgage was at. So I had used my VA loan to purchase the home, so I didn't put much of a down payment down, so I really didn't have much equity. And I would have lost money every single month if I rented it out, and it just felt like that would have been a huge energetic weight to carry. Not only that, you just never know what kind of tenant you're going to get. And I just didn't know what I was walking into. I just felt very overwhelmed. From the moment I purchased the home at 28, I just felt overwhelmed. I really shouldn't have bought the house.
All right, so let's stop here for a second. First of all, I always like to give credit to the content creators, so that link will be down in the description. Also, on top of that, make sure you guys tap into the Patreon. Great stuff, and we're going to be live streaming this weekend, so I can make sure that I add some value into y'all, so y'all don't find yourself in this situation. Now, what makes this unique is not that she's going through financial constraints and troubles, and she likes to label it as deconstructing her finances, when in reality, it just means that I'm broke. Life happens to everybody. I'm not tripping off of that. That's not why I found this interesting. I found it interesting because she said that she's a life coach. Yes, I am going to put a link down in the description down to her profile. And this chick's literally said that she is a life coach. And the comments is crazy. The comments is absolutely insane. Her name is Lana Quantum Leap Coach. Coach of what? And then the profile, it says, closing the season of financial struggle. Now I get to rebuild, finance, bankruptcy. Listen, you're not going to believe me unless I show it to you. So I got to show you my screen real quick and give y'all an update on what I'm looking at. This is literally what it says right here. Quantum Leap Coach. She is a life coach. Fam, how are you going to be coaching anything and everything when you don't even have your own life together? And this is the craziness that I keep seeing on the internet. Everybody got a platform. Let me actually just look at this really quickly because I want to see. And she got 74,000 subscribers or 74,000 followers on TikTok. And her whole thing is says your dreams are possible. And then she go on from there. So your dreams is possible, and you broke, and you lost your house, and you filed for bankruptcy, and you have credit card debt, and you have all of these things, but you're giving people advice on how it is that they need to manage their life. Let's hear some more and see what she got to say, because I haven't seen this.
Be completely frank, I don't have regrets. Everything led me to here and now, but it made me extremely house poor. I went from a rent payment of $1,700 to a mortgage with HOA of payment about $2,700. Buying a house was not a good financial decision, but I felt so rushed to do it simply because I was trying to check the milestones that would make me feel like I was doing okay. Oops, cut me off. I wanted to feel like I was doing okay in life, and I was looking around at everybody around me. This is at a subconscious level, not at a conscious level, okay? But everybody around me is getting married, having kids, buying houses. I'm still living in my hometown. I'm single at 28 years old, and I think I just felt like I needed to do it to prove something to myself.
How can somebody coach somebody in life at 28? And not only are they only 28 years old, which means that they haven't even lived life long enough to be able to give you some real advice on how you need to move financially, emotionally, spiritually, all of that. And I'm gonna be honest with you, she don't look 28. She looks older than that. But that could just be the circumstance that she's looking at. But again, this is so stupid, bro. And anybody can be anything on the internet without actually showing the receipts. And they think that them being vulnerable actually is going to get you to sign up for coaching from them, which is wild to me. And people are actually following this woman.
Or maybe to others. I don't really know. But I bought the house, and it wasn't a good financial decision. They say don't buy the house until you're ready, and that's really true. But I think I was so programmed and conditioned to believe that buying a house was this great investment and it was such an important thing to do because you don't want to be wasting money on rent every single month. But
It could be if you know what you're doing.
5 months after purchasing the house, I wanted to leave and start living nomadically. So pretty quickly after buying the house, it just started to feel like a giant ball and chain, and one that I couldn't really get out of because you can't sell the house within 2 years without paying short-term capital gains. Even in this last winter, I thought about selling the house, but I didn't have enough equity to be able to sell it because with excise taxes and agent fees, I would have had to owe money. I would have had to pay money to sell my house, which I did not have. So because I had filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy, it protected me in many ways. I decided to just surrender the house. Because I had never signed a reaffirmation agreement, once my bankruptcy was filed, the mortgage quit reporting on my credit report. So I was no longer legally liable for the debt, which means that none of the surrendering of my house or anything has reported on my mortgage.
These people are straight up broke. They poor and they trying to hustle you out of your money. And they haven't even gotten their own life together. But they think that just because they pick up a camera and start talking that actually validates them. This is stupid. How do you lose your house within 5 months of purchasing it? You didn't know? This is so dumb.
No lates, nothing, because I quit paying the mortgage payment in December. It's not one of the decisions I'm most proud of, to be honest, but I am proud of myself for making a decision that is best for my journey and for my soul, even though I know it could come with a lot of shame. I don't really feel shame about it, to be honest. I feel like it was a good decision, but I think Lana 6 months ago would have been very, very embarrassed about this. So I finally today got the paperwork to sign. And it just feels like a huge release. It feels like I'm just relinquishing this ball and chain that I never needed. And yeah, does this impact my ability to buy a home in the future? Of course. I just have no desire to own a home on my own ever again. I prefer to rent. I like the flexibility of being able to break a lease and leave whenever I want.
Remember when people were saying it's better to own than it is to rent? Now you got this whole dynamic and shifting when people can't afford the mortgage and the upkeep and the maintenance and all of this stuff. And now, and we ain't even gonna talk about the property taxes. Now everybody's coming to their reality and they're no longer feeling shame and they just prefer to rent.
I like being able to submit a maintenance request when something breaks. I didn't like having all the responsibility of being a homeowner. I recognize it's very privileged to be in this position because I know there's so many people that desire homeownership, and we live in a housing market that doesn't really support first-time home buyers. But if I could go back, I would have just kept renting.
We know. Usually that's what happens when you start losing everything is you start having this epiphany moment where you were better off the way that you were. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Again, I always like to link back to the content creator because that's the right thing to do. Do you think that this woman is a great life coach and that she's giving you some transformational energy and advice, or do you think that she needs to humble herself and go ahead and get her life together before she starts telling other people what to do? Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you later. Peace.